Hello, my name is Larry Taylor, and who am I? Well, sometimes that's hard to answer. I can tell you what I've done. I've worked as a deckhand on a research ship. I've worked as a research assistant in an oceanographic laboratory. I've been a carpenter's helper, parking lot attendant, a pastor, a church planter, a psychotherapist, a hospital chaplain, a husband, father, grandfather. Those are some of the things that I've done, but none of those things really define who I am. And I think even at my age that I am struggling to learn who I am. I am 69 years old. I have 5 children and 8 grandchildren and a beautiful wife and a couple of cute but pretty stupid wiener dogs. And one of the prayers that I pray every day or almost every day comes from Psalm 71, where the psalmist says, "O God, from my youth you have taught me, and I still proclaim your wondrous deeds. So even to old age and gray hairs, O God, do not forsake me, until I proclaim your might to another generation, your power to those who come. Your righteousness, O God, reaches to the heavens. You who have done great things, O God, who is like you? You who have made me to see many troubles and calamities will revive me again. You will increase my greatness, and comfort me again." There's a couple of words in there that I think we often misinterpret. At least I have. Shouldn't speak for anyone else. The word greatness, you will increase my greatness. I think we tend to define greatness the way society defines greatness, which is normally by how much money you make, what kind of an education you have, what kind of a career, job you have, how successful you've been in that particular career. We define greatness by where you live and how many people know you, and that kind of thing. But God does not define greatness that way. Jesus said that the greatest in the kingdom is a servant of all. Jesus said the last will be first, and the first will be last. So I think a person who is great in God's eyes is a person with a humble heart, a servant's heart, a teachable heart, a caring, compassionate, generous heart. Another word in that prayer in the Psalms that I read a moment ago that I have misunderstood. Even to old age and gray hairs, O God, do not forsake me until I proclaim your might to another generation. The word might. I think, again, perhaps we have a tendency to define might, power, the way society defines might and power. The ability to control, the ability to get one's opinions not only out there, but for those opinions to influence others, help others, change others, maybe. We define might and power in terms of, sometimes in terms of coercion, manipulation, winning the election, winning the political value, winning the argument, shutting down the opposition, defeating the foe. God does not define might in any of those ways. Might, power, in the kingdom of God is flipped upside down from the way it is in the world. Might and power in God's kingdom is having a self-sacrificial love for others and for everything that God created. Might and power in the kingdom of God have to do with those that Jesus called in Matthew chapter 25, the least of my sisters and brothers. He's talking there in context about the vulnerable, the homeless, the incarcerated, the mentally ill, the physically ill, the frail, the infirmed, the demented, those in hospitals and nursing homes and halfway houses and mental facilities of all sorts. He's talking about refugees. He's talking about victims of racism, victims of homophobia, victims of misogyny, victims of prejudice because of gender, victims of prejudice because of skin color or education or ethnic background, language spoken, religion, whatever it might be. According to the kingdom of God, God's might, God's power is displayed in serving and loving and caring for others. I have recently been struggling with feelings of inadequacy, struggling with feeling like I don't fit in anywhere and I don't really belong anywhere, struggling with feelings of uselessness. What is my purpose? Why am I here? I've always thought, and I didn't just make it up. Over the years, I've gotten a lot of feedback from other people affirming that I have a gift of teaching, a gift of communicating thoughts and ideas with people, whether through speaking like I'm doing now or through writing or whatever the media might be. And yet here I find myself after all these years and pastoring churches and helping plant churches and dealing with people in all kinds of backgrounds. I find myself kind of sidelined. I find myself writing books and blog articles and recording videos like this one. And then I put them out there and very few people watch them. Even fewer people respond to them. Very few people read what I've written. What I feel burning in my heart doesn't seem to have much effect. And it leads me to feel like I'm washed up. I'm useless. I've made so many mistakes. There's been so much crushing failure in my life, and I have no one to blame but myself. I got married the first time when I was 18 years old. And I went to apply for the marriage license. I had to take my father with me because I was too young to get it on my own. I had no idea what marriage was about. I tried to be a good husband. I tried to be a good father. But the marriage fell apart after some dozen years or so. And it hurt my children so deeply. And I felt like such a failure. And I dropped out of pastoral ministry. Took a job as a counselor. Never really felt like I fit in there. Tried. Went through a lot of times when I think I was just kind of faking it. Don't know that I had much of a positive effect on anybody particularly. Got remarried, so much in love with my wife, Kathy. New life. Bought a little farm, a little ranch outside of town. Had a bunch of animals, kind of an old McDonald type thing. Had the kids there and got them in 4-H and involved in all sorts of activities. And then my oldest son, who was in high school at the time, committed suicide. That was in 1986. It was a long time ago. But just recently, I went to visit his grave. And I was taking pictures of the tombstone, and I tripped over a tombstone behind me, and I fell flat on my back. It didn't hurt physically. There was a soft blanket of snow on the ground, and it was a very soft landing, but the instant I hit, I began sobbing, gut-wrenching sobs. And my wife held me and tried to comfort me. And between the sobs, I said, I killed him. Now, I know in my head that I didn't, but in my emotions, in my feelings, I feel like I did. I feel like he took his life because of my neglect, because of my sin in the ending of the marriage with his mother and me. I feel like I failed Elliot. I feel like I failed my other children. I feel like I failed my first wife. I feel like I failed God. And I still carry that kind of feeling, not just connected to Elliot's death, but I carry around within me this feeling that I don't measure up. My earliest memory is of sobbing and crying and choking on my own mucus and being emotionally abandoned by my parents. All my life, as far back as I can remember, I have had a deep, abiding fear of death, fear of purposelessness. And all my life, I've struggled with relationships. I make friends. I think we're friends for life, and then something happens, I don't know what, and they seems like they don't want anything to do with me anymore. Now, some of that is just because, we've moved around and interests change and we become different people. So some of it I know is very natural. But even to this day, I only have a couple of friends in the world that are the kind of people that I think I could share anything with, and they would still like me and accept me. Well, one of those friends is my wife. Thank God for that. But other than her, uh, the one or two others are far away, and I don't see them very often. Connect with them, texting and social media, you know how it is. But I carry around within me a profound sense of loneliness, a profound sense of brokenness, a profound sense that I don't measure up, that my life hasn't amounted to much of anything. I share that with you because I am a broken person, and I suspect perhaps you are too. And so, can we learn to walk in this brokenness together?